computer. And yeah, so today I am, by the way, I'm pretty excited about not just today, but also Thursday. We're going to have an amazing guest speaker, and I'm going to definitely send out emails to remind people about it because it's going to be really good. So before we start in today's topic, I wanted to remind you that a while back in one of my first, we have two Michelles with us. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Michelle. In one of the first webinars that we did, I told you about the 5 predictors of well-being, and there's an acronym for it that I created called RAMP, right? And it's all based on positive psychology research of Martin Seligman, and he came up with another. Hey, Terry, thanks for joining us. Terry Ann, good to see you. With another acronym called PERMA, but basically RAMP stands for 5 predictors of well-being. R stands for relationships, having supportive relationships in our lives. A actually stands for 2 different things. So A stands for awareness and also advancement. So awareness is all about being present, being mindful, being here, noticing what's happening for us in the present moment, as opposed to continually being in the future or continually being in the past, worrying about things, ruminating about the past. Awareness again is about presence. Advancement is about personal growth. Really having opportunities to continue to learn new things, not only about professionally, but also personally for us. Like, how can we continue to evolve as people? M stands for meaning. So really being connected to our purpose. And the P stands for positive emotions, experiencing positive emotions in our lives. Now, what I want to focus on today is the M. I want to focus on meaning. And really, it's about looking at the why of our life. Why are we here? Why are we doing what we're doing? And I love Viktor Frankl's quote: "Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how." Now, if you're familiar with Viktor Frankl's story, I'll say his quote again, just because it's really powerful. Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. Now, the reason why I think that's powerful is because, Viktor Frankl, in case you didn't know, he lived through the Holocaust. And even in the concentration camps, he was able to realize that when a person, he's really connected to the why of his existence, to his meaning, that person had a much greater likelihood of surviving the concentration camps. I mean, he went through hell, and he really was able to, even there, was able to actually create enough space between the stimuli that he experienced and the responses that he had. And in that space, he remembered like the reason for why he's alive. And and his meaning kept him alive, kept him going, even though he had to endure some awful stuff. Now, I want to read you a quick story about a teacher who, in my opinion, she's a hero of mine. And it's funny because I heard about her story from another hero of mine who was my professor in grad school, Tal Ben Shachar. And Tal Ben Shachar wrote a book. He wrote a book called Even Happier. He wrote Happier and then also Even Happier. And in Even Happier, there's a little chapter on meaning. And I want to read you a quick, just a page from it. So give me one sec. All right. So here's the story of Marva Collins. Marva Collins was a school teacher in Chicago's inner city in the early 1970s, a place where crime and drugs were rampant. And hope and optimism, frankly, were scarce. In 1975, Collins founded a prep school for children in her neighborhood. The students, many of whom had been rejected from other schools and deemed unteachable, learned to read Shakespeare and Emerson by 4th grade. For more than 20 years, Collins struggled financially to keep the school alive and was even often on the verge of closing. But she never lost sight of her vision, recognizing happiness as the ultimate end. Reflecting on one of her students, Collins says, "It is worth all the sleepless nights wondering how I'm going to balance our deficits to see the glow in his eyes that will one day light the world." Collins could have made a fortune in the 1980s, She was even offered a position as the Secretary of Education, but she loved to teach and believed that she could make the most significant difference in the classroom. Teaching gave her life meaning that she believed no other profession can give her. Teaching gave her the emotional gratification that no amount of money could buy. She felt she was the wealthiest woman in the world, and that her experiences as a teacher were worth more than all the gold in Fort Knox, because happiness, not wealth or prestige, is the ultimate currency. Now, I love this. I love this little paragraph, and um, to me, I believe that when we think of meaning, clearly Marva Collins was fully connected to her meaning on a daily basis. I think of it as really the purpose for our existence. And we can find purpose for our existence in many different places in our life, like in raising children, or in volunteering for organizations, with missions we care about, or like helping people who are less fortunate than us. And, our sense of purpose changes with time. But I think there's a certain special kind of boost that we get when we can find a sense of purpose in the work that we do on a daily basis, since so much of our time and energy is spent in that work. So now I think, like, I'll give you an example from my life, okay, just today. So I want to have an impact on a lot of people's lives. And I want to help educators be more, thrive and be more resilient themselves, but then also support kids. So I created this online course, right? Now, as a part of letting the world know about the online course, I need to learn a lot about Facebook ads and like how like social media works and everything. Okay. And today I'm in the middle of like figuring out right literally a few minutes before I got here, I'm in the middle of all the like nitty gritty, like super technical aspects of how to connect my Facebook ad manager to my business manager account, to like the making sure that the pixel of Facebook works on my website, like all this crap that I don't give a about, all right, but I have to deal with, okay, because I want it to work, because really, like, I remember my why, and my why at the end of it is that I want hundreds of thousands of kids to get the benefits. I want hundreds of thousands of adults and teachers to get the benefits of it. So I'm going to figure out this how. I'm going to figure out the Facebook thing because I'm connected to my why. If I wasn't connected to my why, frankly, I'd be like, I'm done. Like after about 30 minutes, I'd be like, no, I'm done. Like it's, but my why is what keeps me going. So, I think, I've met so many educators in the last decade, I'd say, especially 4 or 5 years of running EQ schools. And I think a lot of times we are connected to our purpose, but I think a lot of times we're not also. It's very easy for us to disconnect from like the fire of why we became a teacher or an educator. Now, I want to be clear. It happened to me. Okay. So like, I'm not making anyone wrong for not being connected to their purpose or fire or anything like that. And if you're feeling a little bit of that now, there's nothing wrong with you. It's absolutely normal. This happens to so many of us. And I think what's important is from time to time that we take the time to really connect to why am I doing what I'm doing, but not just the regular like, oh, I'm doing it for the kids. I'm doing it for, of course, we are all doing it for the kids. We're educators, but what's the underneath? And I'll give you my example. Okay. Like, in other words, why is your why your why? So my why is that I want every single person in the world to have skills to learn to become happier, more resilient, and to understand that they can live the life of their dream and to actually take action towards living that way. And another part of my why is that I believe that schools are meant to be joyful places where, and safe places, joyful and psychologically safe places where relationships are celebrated, vulnerability is encouraged, passions are cultivated, and there's just an abundance of joyful learning and connection. Now, but there's a reason underneath why this is my why, and it goes to really my life story, and a, a really important, pertinent part of it. When I was 8 years old, I moved from Israel to Belgium. Now, at the time, I only spoke Hebrew. I didn't speak any French. And I got to Belgium, and I got to my school. And basically, the way my school worked was that they just kind of threw me into a classroom where everyone just spoke French. Like the entire thing was in French. And I remember having a moment where I was like, I have no idea how this is going to work. Like I'm seeing those teachers speak to me and I'm like, how's this? I don't know what to do, like nothing. And I had a lot of feelings that year about, being away from my friends, being in a whole new environment. Um, and honestly, there were a lot of moments of overwhelm. And I remember crying as a kid, like in the classroom, and feeling like, and the teacher didn't really know how to handle emotions. And she got overwhelmed with me. She didn't know what to do with me. And actually, at one point, even started mocking me. And I remember that experience, like years later, after a lot of therapy, all right, that experience basically led me to realize I'm going to do everything in my power for no kid to ever experience something like this ever. Like, I'm going to support educators. I'm going to support whoever is supporting kids in order to really be able to deal with their own emotions so they can really be there for the emotions of the kids, because no kids deserves this. And that's really the reason underneath my why. So yeah, it's for the kids, of course, but there's a underneath, there's a layer there that connects me to it. Does that make sense? And so, yeah. And so what I encourage us to do right now is, if you're open to it, is I want us to just really journal only about 3 questions. The first is, it's a simple one, and I'm going to put them in the chat. The first is, what is your why? But the second is what is the story behind your why? Like, why is your why your why? And the last question is, how could remembering that help you move through your week, especially this week? Now, as you are beginning to journal, I'm just going to tell you, being really connected to our why right now is so incredibly critical. I mean, it really builds resilience. It helps us to stay patient in this crazy time where no one even knows, like, how's the fall going to look like? Like, yeah, we have a few weeks until summer, but like, what will the fall look like? Are we still going to have to do this? And if so, like, oh my gosh, are we going to have a year like this? Like, what's going to happen? There's all this uncertainty. But again, if we're able to say, all right, yes, it's scary. It's not something that I want, and I'm doing it. Why am I doing it? And when we can get connected to that why, it's easier to move through it. It builds resiliency. So I'm going to play a little bit music. I'm going to give you about 2 to 3 minutes to continue to write about this. And then we'll continue to process about it in small groups. We're going to go ahead and take another minute or so. So continue to journal, maybe a minute and a half. Really see if you can come up with details. Tap into your experience as a child. All right. Very good. So we're going to go ahead and divide ourselves into two groups. And I'm going to give us about 6-7 minutes or so, and then we'll come back. So again, we're discussing the 3 prompts. So what is your why? What's the story behind it? And how could remembering this help you move through this week? Now, if you feel like you've answered these questions and you just kind of want support around some stuff that you're dealing with and you have some extra time, please feel free to talk about it, to bring that up and support one another in that. I think that's one of the power of actually getting into small groups and connecting. So let me go ahead and let's divide us into 2 groups. And here we go.
On tight.
Yeah, we just had a kind of an admin
Your
meeting.
voice, oh, there you are. Your voice went out. No, we're back in.
Oh, am I
Oh,
better?
no, I can hear you.
I can hear you. I can hear you,
Okay.
Terry.
We had an admin, like a site team meeting this morning, and the outlook is not looking good for fall for us going back. So other than that, I'm doing great.
What do you mean by that? Like all together
like
going
school's
back?
school's not returning. We're in Washington State, and
Got
so
it.
the buzz is kind of, they're not making a decision till next month, but the feeling and the vibe is that we won't be going back to traditional school in the fall.
And it will be just fully distance learning?
That's what it sounded like.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like I need people. I need,
yeah.
like, that's just who I am.
Totally.
I mean, I'm doing okay, but you know.
No, I hear you. I get it. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
I'm just like, anyway, I can go real quick on my, what is my why? And I always have trouble like wording this, so I'll stumble. I teach because I believe and have hope for all students to be all they can be or what they want to be, and helping them see that in themselves. And so then for my, like, what's the story behind my why? I'm not, like, I was an average student. and my parents got divorced and things went crazy. And I work with students that have emotional behavior disabilities. And so I was kind of one of those kids, like I went off the rails, but they didn't have programs for me. But I had significant teachers that connected with me, made me do better, told me I was better, made me see that in myself when I didn't see it in myself. So that's kind of where, and those teachers are super important to me and keep me like, I got to keep, you know, even though, I mean, I started EBD 16 years ago and, you know, I lose some along the way, you know what I mean? Like some have been incarcerated and, you know, I mean, that happens, but for the most part, I'm pretty successful in building that relationship. And then the other piece is I always wanted to be noticed. Because I wasn't a jock. I wasn't an academic kid. I wasn't a nerd. I wasn't. And so I always felt like I never had a place in school. Where I belonged. And so I want my students to feel that. And then just remembering that is like, and that's what I had to shift my own thinking in regards to this Zoom meeting with kids. And that's all we talk about. Like when I meet with the kids, I just talk about them, like just continuing to make sure they understand. And then also using that, the one that you had a couple weeks ago about the conversations. And really making sure, because when they start talking about their pets, I automatically talk about mine. Thinking I'm connecting, but that's not really what I'm doing.
Totally.
And so rethinking how I converse with them.
Terry Ann, I'm just so inspired by how much you've learned and like how much you're using the stuff and like and your love for your students and your why is so powerful and beautiful.
Thank you.
It's really it's just such a joy to be with you as you speak about it. So I just want you to know that.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to cut you off too.
You're good.
Some more? Okay.
Good.
Okay.
How about you, Kate?
You know, I would say, you know, it really is that I love working with kids. It's just something very instinctual in me. And, you know, it might sound cliche, but it's really brings me so much joy I've always just had this link with kids. I just get them and they get me. And I ran a summer camp and after school program for 10 years where I had just a small group of kids, anywhere from like 2 kids to 12 kids, you know, but a small room. And I just love, you know, teaching them things, seeing them grow and blossom. It just makes me happy. Like, I don't know. I always can tell if a child is suffering or, you know, I just connect really well with them and it just makes me feel good.
Yeah. Nice. Great.
I mean, why I'm that way, I don't know. It's like being the 4th of 5 kids, you know, so I was from a big family, from a neighborhood so I always just, maybe that's why I understand kids well. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Terry Ann, what do you, go ahead, share what you think about it.
And I've been in groups with Kate and I can see your love for kids and that just the natural, I think you and I'd be friends, Kate.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, not that we're not friends, we're just it's kind of a distant friend. You know what I mean? Like we both.
Yeah, I just love kids to feel like they belong and they feel connected. And I can see how important it is to them when somebody gets them or just tease them. It, you know, I like filling the cup, you know, like for kids and for people in general, you know, I enjoy to be that kind of a person in the world. And
that's beautiful.
So I have a question, and not that you have to answer, Kate, but how do you take care of yourself? Because helping other people fill their cup has a tendency to drain your cup.
Yeah, I'm not that great about that. That's a weakness. You know, the last year or so, I've been starting to do that. I've been a single parent for 10 years, and their father's in India, so I'm absolutely raised doing this on my own. So that's been a problem for me. But the last year or so, I've started to, like, I started doing a yoga class, starting to take time to have walks, this kind of a class like with Roni helps fill my cup, where I
Right.
get tools to deal with my emotions and all that.
Yeah, I made my schedule around Roni's class.
Ah, thank you, Terry Ann. Thanks for sharing
I'm
that.
like, this is like my
And thank you,
godsend right
Kate.
now. And
For
then
sure.
I see there's a Nicole that joined us.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to give Nicole a little space. I think Nicole can use a little support from us.
Yeah.
Kate, thank you for sharing, and thank you for saying what you said about this webinars to them. That means a lot. And Terry Ann.
Thank you for
Yeah,
offering it to us.
for sure. Nicole, can we give you a little space and a little support?
Sure. Basically, I was telling Moni that I don't really know what my why is, and that's a problem, and like something I'm kind of like I was even saying I'm embarrassed about. Like I'm working at this job, like I work for a company that's basically my brother's company. I like what I do, but I don't feel like it's what I'm supposed to be doing. But everyone says I'm good at what I do, so it's like, why am I here though? Like, am I here because I'm good at it? Because people say, and because I don't feel like it's my why though. Like I don't know what my why is to do what I do. I like what I do, but I think there's a bigger calling for me to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the why is.
Nicole, I'll say two things. So I have a few thoughts that I want to give you. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time, so I want to give you some thoughts to kind of chew on. But let me just make a quick note for everyone. I'll just tell them about 1 more minute or maybe 2 more minutes, just so the other group knows what's happening. Okay, so Nicole, I think that first of all, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. I think that a lot of us really face that, not knowing what our why is, being disconnected from the kind of the purpose. And I think that the fact that you're even willing to share that and be vulnerable about your feelings around it is really courageous and beautiful. So I just want to tell you that just want to commend you for being honest and real. That's huge. And I also want to say that it's a lot of us do things that we're good at. We're doing certain things because we're good at, and that there's some real benefits in, like you were saying earlier, that you feel like there could be things that feel more meaningful or like a bigger reason for you to be here, to do the things that you really want to do. Correct?
Yes. Like I love working with the kids, but I don't get that because I do it for after school, so I don't have that one-on-one with them, and I don't like I have K through 8, and it's like in and out people, like, so
totally
I don't get that connection.
Well, so one of the things that I wanted to say is that the feeling that you're feeling of like kind of not feeling fully satisfied and stuff, that's a really powerful teacher. Like it's really great for you to listen to that, tap into that, not be afraid of noticing that emotion, because it's going to lead you towards some thoughts and ideas and action towards what it is that you want. So one idea that I want to put out there is, instead of asking yourself what it is that you don't want, really begin to like explore what it is. Ask yourself what it is that you want, but without pushing yourself, without needing to know an answer. Like beginning to ask yourself things like, hey, what makes me really happy? Like what makes me really joyful? What am I really feeling like my fire is just lit up, or like I'm super passionate about this, and just beginning to explore these questions, and even looking at like what you are already doing that you are loving about your current job. There's parts of it that I'm assuming that you really like. And so how can you have more of that? And the most important piece here is, Nicole, is not to beat yourself up, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with where you are. Nothing.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm gonna close the rooms, but that it still gives you like a minute or so to be here with Kate and Terry Ann. And Kate, Terry Ann, if you want to chime in and share your thoughts, please do. Okay. I just want to start kind of, closing the room and getting us back.
Okay. So Nicole, I second what Roni was saying. There's nothing.
Hey, Michelle and Margaret. We just had, I'm sorry that we went a little longer. We just had a really juicy conversation in our, in our group. So before we leave off, I think they're going to join us in just a few minutes. Yeah, in a second. Yeah, everybody's here. Before we leave off, I just want to put out there that, again, to me, it's like now is the moment where the more we can be connected to our meaning, to our purpose, the better. Now, what I also want to put out there is, like, let's not beat ourselves up if we're not connected. Like if we have a moment of like, oh, like I'm kind of feeling just burnt out and I'm forgetting why I'm doing this in the first place. There's nothing wrong with you if you're there. Do you know what I mean? So just treat yourself with a lot of patience and love. And I want to remind you all before you leave that if you didn't know, I created a free PDF that has like 6 strategies to deepen relationship with students on Zoom. I'm putting the link on the chat. And I also created an online course called Teaching with Joy and Resilience Through COVID and Beyond. And this is the link for the course. Please, if you want to take advantage of it, definitely take advantage of the promo code that I've put out there. It gives you like the course half off. So, and also there's a whole bundled course with another course that I created that has 35 games for people that you can play with your students. So yeah, so I just wanted to put that out there. Nicole just sent me a sweet private message. So it's private. I'm not going to read it, but Nicole, thank you. And yeah, I just wanted to really just, again, thank you so much for all that you do. All of you, you're amazing. The fact that you're there for kids in this way and for their families in this way is just really beautiful. I know this is a hard time for all of us. This uncertainty, feeling like we're not going back to school next fall, all of that is just really hard. And so you're doing it, and I deeply appreciate you. I want to tell you, Thursday is going to be out of this world amazing. I'm super stoked about it. So please join us if you can, and let your friends know about it too. And I'll send out an email reminder or everything. So let me go ahead and just unmute us all, and we can all just say goodbye to one another. And what I'd love to do, if you're okay with it, is the way I want to just like end us with a whoosh. And so a whoosh, again, if you haven't been with us before, it's basically like energy that we send from the heart center, like it comes from our heart and our chest center. And it's basically like an acknowledgement, like an appreciation for everyone who was here. So basically, like, I'm going to say 1, 2, and we're all going to go whoosh. Again, just like appreciating, loving everyone who showed up. So I'm going to put myself in grid view. Are y'all ready? Here we go. 1, 2, and a whoosh.
Whoosh.
Nice. Beautiful.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
I hope to see you on Thursday, y'all.
See ya.
Thursday. Thank you.
All right.
Thursday. Bye.
Take care. Bye.